Hello everyone, Hailey here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you about what I dislike about being a student at UCLA. So if you're new to my channel, I am a transfer student at UCLA now in my senior year studying applied linguistics, and I feel like I've gone here long enough to make a video about this. My experience has been interesting, so let's just jump right in. The first thing that I really dislike about UCLA is the fact that it is on the quarter system. Honestly, this is probably my least favorite thing about UCLA for the simple fact that it's just so fast. Like, it really is quick. If you don't know the difference between the semester system and the quarter system, the semester system is anywhere between 14 and 16 weeks, and the quarter system is 10 with one extra week at the end for final exams. And if you're interested in hearing more about that, I do have a video about it. Check it out right here. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I just dislike this because I've been on semester system my whole life in high school and community college, and I just feel like the quarter system doesn't really give you enough time to truly immerse yourself in the content. And that can be a big problem if you're someone who's really struggling with the course material. So this quarter I'm taking 18 units, which is crazy, I know, and 2 5-unit linguistics classes, which are both pretty challenging. And I've just found it pretty hard to really grasp the material in that amount of time because pretty much every week, if not every class, there's a new concept introduced that I have to master basically before the next, because each thing builds upon each other. So it's been really difficult. I mean, I know a lot of other people who like it, but I think the majority of community college students don't like it. But once again, personal preference, I just think it's really fast. I do prefer the semester system personally. You get more time to really work on things and understand things. Also, on the semester system, you do have a little leeway in terms of like not doing so hot in the beginning of the semester and then picking it up later on in the quarter. Oh my gosh, I keep switching semester and quarter, but you guys know what I mean. Whereas on the quarter system, pretty much your first few weeks of performance will determine how you're gonna do in the rest of the class. I'm not saying it's impossible to recover, it's just a lot more challenging and it requires a lot more work and a lot more effort because you have a limited opportunity to redeem yourself on assignments and on exams. So that's one thing that I dislike about it. Moving on to the next thing that I dislike about UCLA. Research opportunities seem to be really difficult to get into, particularly for transfer students and for lower division level undergraduate students. So basically if you're like a junior or senior, you're in a good spot. Junior or senior who started as a freshman. But the reason I say this is because I've applied for a lot of research opportunities, and a lot of them are either super selective with what they're looking for in terms of experience or in terms of course credit. So a lot of them will be like, oh, I'm looking for someone to do this, and sometimes it is something that requires a little bit of skill, but a lot of times it's something like you're going to be greeting participants in the experiment and handling the paperwork, okay? So given that, they want you to have taken like a whole slew of classes in order to be like eligible to apply for this research opportunity. So as a transfer student who probably hasn't really had much of a chance to take those prerequisites and in course, and in many cases a lot of like upper division courses, it's really difficult to get involved because by the time that you do complete those credits, it's like your spring quarter of your senior year and you're graduating. So, I mean, of course, it's never too late to get involved in research, but if you're someone who's trying to build up your resume and get a lot of hands-on experience in the field, it's not really ideal. I think that this would also probably be a problem for lower division undergraduate students. I can't speak from that experience because I came in as a transfer student, but I see them having similar issues. If you want to build up your resume and get experience, that sort of thing, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you. Not saying it's impossible. I see a few people who have managed to do it. I don't know how they pull it off. Maybe they just really butter up the person who they would be an assistant to, but it's just my experience. Third, I really dislike that there is only 1 year of guaranteed housing for transfer students. Let me explain why I dislike this. People who come in as freshmen have 3 years of guaranteed housing. So they have 75% of their time at UCLA covered. There will be a spot for them on campus. Transfer students only have 50% on the time. I think this is especially challenging for transfer students because you have half the time of a freshman entry-level student to get to know the campus, to get to know the people that you're living with, and to get to know Westwood. So, you know, you do your first year on campus, and then come like winter of that first year, you're supposed to be looking for housing for the next year. But maybe you haven't really met many people who you would feel comfortable moving in with or signing a lease with or things of that nature, and it's just all around pretty challenging. And on top of that, that leads into my next point, which is that rent in Westwood is incredibly expensive. I am from the Bay Area. I'm no stranger to high rent, but when I say this, I don't want you guys to take this lightly. I actually stumbled upon this article from Yahoo Finance stating that the number 4 most expensive zip code in the nation for renters is 90024, which is the Westwood zip code. And of course, everyone who is a UCLA student is subject to this. I mean, it's really pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know how else to put it. My rent is, I think, astronomical, and the crazy thing about my rent, I'll just let you know right now, is $1,100. $4,500 total for this 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. We have like a discounted rent because we did not actually sign a new lease. We did a lease takeover. So the true cost of rent for anyone in my apartment who would have started anew is like $4,800, and it's pretty ridiculous if you ask me. So just be aware of that if you're on a budget, if you're someone who is nervous about like moving out and covering rent and doing that sort of thing, especially for the first time. That was the situation that I was in. I've learned how to deal with it, but it's not good. It's not good. I mean, it's very expensive. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is something that I've talked about in a lot of other videos, and I think that this is kind of a concern that a lot of people seem to ask me about just in general with the UC system, and I think, you know, this depends on your major and probably the school you go to, but it can be pretty difficult to get the classes that you want. Why? Not only because there are impacted classes. For example, for myself, I don't even have an impacted major, but I still struggle to get the classes that I want and even need. A lot of time, like each quarter I've never had an ideal schedule. But I think this is due to the enrollment appointment system. I don't know how it's done at other schools. I would imagine that it's similar. But at UCLA, basically, you have 2 enrollment passes, which means you have 2 opportunities to get the classes that you need for the next quarter. The date in which you enroll is predetermined by the school, of course, so you really have no say in when you get this enrollment pass, and that makes things tricky because a lot of times by the time you even have your first pass, so the first chance you have to enroll in classes, some of the classes that you have may already be waitlisted or may already be full, which means the department is no longer accepting new students in that class. There are some avenues that you can take, such as talking to the professor personally and trying to get a PTE code, but that's just a hassle. I do wish it was easier just to get the classes that you need right off the bat. I will graduate on time. Luckily, I could have graduated early if I wanted to. I didn't want to, and I couldn't because I couldn't really get the classes that I wanted anyway. But I'm graduating on time. I don't know of anyone who has been affected to the point where they won't graduate on time. It's not unheard of, but it is something to be aware of as you're deciding which school that you want to go to. Okay, the next one that I want to talk about is finding a job on campus. And the thing that I want to address here is it seems to be somewhat difficult. I'm not on work study or anything like that, and maybe it's different if you are a part of work study. If you sign up for work study, then they assign you a job. But I did not sign up for work study because I did not want to commit to something before knowing what my workload would be like this year. Anyway, so I think it's pretty difficult to get a job on campus. I've applied to numerous jobs on campus, and it's not easy. I don't get callbacks even though I feel very qualified for the job. It's not easy, so I personally will be looking for a job off campus, which isn't a big deal this year because I have a car. I do know a lot of students who work off campus who live on the hill, but I think if you're on the hill, it's a little bit more challenging. You're gonna have to rely on public transportation or Uber or whatnot if you don't have your own vehicle. Which leads into my last point about parking on campus at UCLA. So, parking passes. They are hard to come by. They are scarce. You do have to apply, and pretty much if you live on campus or if you live in the surrounding area, so Westwood and in the Westwood zip code, there's like a 99.999999999% chance that you will not get a parking pass. From my understanding, it is a lottery system, though they do prioritize people who have jobs off campus and people who have some commitment outside of the Los Angeles area, such as they have to take care of a sick relative or something like that, and give them parking passes so that they're able to do that and come and go as they please. But if you're just the average Joe who lives on campus or in the Westwood area, I'm just letting you know right now, it's probably not going to happen. For me, this was extremely frustrating because I am used to having a car, especially last year when I lived on campus. Not having a car was a struggle. I had to Uber everywhere, which is expensive and really inconvenient. So that's just one thing to know. I did know one girl who I lived in a suite with who actually had her car the fall quarter. She got a parking pass, but then winter and spring, she didn't get a parking pass again. So she didn't have the opportunity to park her car on campus. It's really expensive anyway. I don't remember off the top of my head how much it is, but you can visit like transportation.ucla.edu if you're really curious about it. Now that I live in Westwood, I do have my car because I'm not living in campus anymore. But the thing is, I pay $150 a month on top of my rent to park my car here. So yes, it's really expensive in general. And I wouldn't really want to get like an on-campus parking pass so that I could drive to class anyway, because it's like a 2-minute walk. Like, I really don't need a parking pass for like campus. But yeah, if you're the type of person who's trying to live on the hill, just know that you probably won't be able to have your car unless you have a really, really, really good reason. And you do have to provide proof. Like, you have to provide a pay stub from your job to show that you have a job off campus. Those are my chief complaints about UCLA. Once again, my intent with this video is not to deter you from UCLA. It's not to discourage you from applying or attending UCLA. I think UCLA is a great school. I just do want to let you know what my experience is, because I always try to be as honest and open as candid as I can about what goes on here in Westwood. So I hope you all appreciated that, and that gave you some clarity about what life is like on UCLA and some of the cons of going. If you are interested, I do have a bunch more videos on my channel. I'll link some of them right here, but I'm constantly posting new transfer, UCLA, and community college content. If you're interested in that and seeing more of that, please consider subscribing to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed or benefited from its content. And I will see you next Saturday at 3 p.m. in my next video. Bye!